A plant cell.
Yeah, that is a cell, but not a plant cell. That is an animal cell. Okay, now that we've identified the structure, we are going to look at the labeled parts. Look at the part labeled B. What part do you think is that part labeled B? What part do you think that is?
The nucleus.
It was that thing I was asking Mariam. I want to take her back to what we've done last week.
Oh, sorry, ma.
Okay, Mariam, that is the nucleus of the cell. Every cell has a nucleus, well, except for the red blood cell and the platelets. Every living cell has a nucleus that controls the activities of the cell, except for the red blood cell and the platelet that I just mentioned now. And now we have the small centralized and centrally placed nucleus within the nucleus. I hope you can hear me. I
Yes,
think
ma.
we need to take it as a whole. And I do not want to scroll back the slide so that it won't take us forever to get to the. Now look at this two structure. The first one here is the plant cell. It has a definite shape, while animal cell is said to be amoeboid in shape, like it does not have a particular shape, so it could take any form of shape. That is animal cell. But for a plant cell, it is definite. It is either it is like a rectangle in structure, or like it is always hexagonal in shape. That is a plant cell. Now, how would you differentiate a plant cell from an animal cell? The major thing you've heard of chloroplast before, right? Mariam, Mama.
Yes, ma.
So while chloroplast is present in plant cell, we do not have it in animal cells. That is another major difference between plant and animal cell. Another difference that it is worthy of note is the food vacuole that we have in plants. Just because plants are able to make their food, so they have a large food vacuole for removing excess water and of course for storing manufactured food temporarily. So because they can make their food, they have food vacuole. But then in animal cells, some animals have very small vacuole, while some do not have vacuoles at all. So those are the major differences between plant and animal cell. But you know what? Let us proceed with the class, and we would.
No.
So then we will stop in the last class. We've started taxonomy of living organism, right?
Yes, ma.
Okay. What did
Discussing
we
the
do in
kingdom.
We've looked at the five kingdoms of living organism. So could you recall the five kingdoms before we move on? The five kingdoms of living organism.
Protist, Monera,
I would appreciate if you
fungi,
can take
plants,
them
and
in order of their
animalia.
evolutionary advancements. So the most primitive kingdom should come first. The most primitive kingdom should come first. Is Mr. Salawudi, have you gotten across to Medina and Hussein? I hope they are aware the class has started.
Yeah, hello, Assalamu alaikum. As for
Okay,
Medina,
Dean, I'm listening. Why you sound glad?
yeah, Medina, I think
Okay,
she's having network issues, so she will join us soon. She's battling with her internet.
okay,
So Hussein is
okay.
nowhere to be found.
All
I've called
right.
his mom, so the mom said he's going to get to him, across to him, inshallah. Sorry about that.
Okay, okay. No problem. Just that it's not always encouraging when we are not complete at the beginning of the class. So we would have to be considering going back and forth. Okay, so Dean, you were trying to recall the five kingdoms.
Yes, ma.
Okay, so I'm listening.
Protist,
Okay, continue, continue.
Protist, Monera, Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia.
That is correct, but you did not put them in order of their advancement. We mentioned that we should consider arranging them in order of their evolutionary advance. I think Medina is here. Oh, she's not. So it's Mariam that joined. Okay, so Mariam, last class we started taxonomy of living organisms. Taxonomy itself is a branch of science, biology specifically, that deals with how organisms are what grouped, how organisms are classified. So it is a branch of biology that studies the classification of living organisms. When we are talking about living organisms, we are talking about those group of organisms that Dean mentioned now. Now, we looked at taxonomy as a branch. We also look at the meaning of classification itself. When you have to classify something, you have to consider some certain features, some certain characteristics that those structures or those um, materials that you have to classify. What are the things they have in common? So, for classifying living organisms, scientists looked at some features that they have in common, and they are able to put together organisms that have the same features. So, they place them together as organisms belonging to the same group. Now, we also mentioned that the first scientist to initiate the way of classifying, the way of grouping organisms together. Dean, could you recall?
Carlos Linus,
Carolus. He was the first scientist that initiated how to classify living organisms. And then he mentioned a particular way, a method of naming organism. And that method is known as the binomial naming system. Binomial nomenclature. As the name implies, binomial, like giving organism two names, the generic and the specific name. Now, how do we come about the generic and the specific name? He is also the scientist that would identify 7 levels into which organism could be classified to. I hope Mariam is with me. We are trying to recall what we've done in our last class
Yes,
with
ma.
him. Good. So now, what is the essence of the levels? Well, how did it come about the levels? Ideally, when you are to group an individual, you would say, okay, let us, okay, for instance, we as Africans, we are Africans, right? But then in that same African, we have some other countries, like many countries. How many countries do we have in Africa? Well, you're not doing geography, so you might not know. We have countries in Africa, we have states within a country. There are certain reasons why we are classified as Africa, probably because of our skin color, because of our hair texture, because of the shape of our nose, or because of the geographical area where we are located with on the planet. And then again, they further divided us as Africans into several countries based on certain features too, based on some reasons. And after grouping us into several countries, we were further classified as what? States under different countries, different states under different countries. So these are the bases that Carolus have used to place organism into several levels. So the levels are 7. Hussein is here. Welcome, Hussein. You're late. Like 20 minutes late. The kingdom is synonymous or can be likened to the Africa that I mentioned earlier, where we have many races. Even though we still have some diversity, we all have some features that make us to be good as African. So that is the same thing as kingdom. Any organism that are met at a certain requirement, because they met a particular requirement, they are what? They are classified as what? One kingdom. And that is why it is believed that the kingdom is the most inclusive level that you can actually classify an organism into. I hope that is noted. When an organism or when several organisms are classified under the same kingdom, that means they have some features in common. Though there might be somewhat variations, they will still have things that make them differ. Probably in terms of how they behave, in terms of their physical structure, their physiology, and the likes. Now, after classifying organism into kingdom, then he puts together some that have close relations again. That okay, these ones are closely related in some other areas, and he classified them further into the next level, which is what? Phylum. And then he continued and continued till what? He grouped them further into classes. Now, if you look at organism under the phylum, they have a larger features in common compared to those organisms that are found in the same kingdom. The same thing with the classes. Organisms that belongs to the same class have more features than organisms of the same phylum. And then like that till he classified them to the least level, the basic level, the smallest level, which is what? The species. Now, for organisms to have been classified as the same species, Mariam and co, they must have the highest features in common. You would hardly notice any difference in them if they are classified to be in the same species. So he was the one that initiated those levels of classification, and that is why it's called the scientists that initiate the hierarchy of classification. These 7 levels are also known as the hierarchy of classification. The kingdom, phylum, class. It is very important you know them in order. You could be asked to recall them in order of increasing features or decreasing features. So if you are considering in order of increasing features, then you're going to consider from kingdom to species. But if you are considering the order of decreasing features from species, the features decreases down to genus, then to family, and then lastly to kingdom. I hope you are there. Then we also emphasize the essence of the two naming system, that organisms are given the last two names of the levels. This generic name, whatever genus an organism belong to and whatever species it belongs to, those two names are what make up the scientific name of an organism. The same way we also have our individual names, our first name and our last name. So the genus is standing as probably the last name of the organism, then the species serves as the first name of the organism. So it was Carolus that initiated that naming idea, that okay, we name organism using the generic name, the genus name, and then the specific name, which is what? The species name. And then he mentioned that whenever we are to name them, the first name, which is the generic name, is always to start with the capital letter. It is always important. While the specific name is to start with what? Small letter. And we are supposed to underline both separately. If you are giving a scientific name of any organism to an examiner and you do not follow this method, your response might not be acknowledged. So I hope that is noted. Now that almost everybody is here, Muslima, let us move to where we stopped in our last class. So we've looked at the major. Hey, Dean, back to you. You mentioned the 5 kingdom correctly, but you did not list them in order. I said in order of the evolutionary advancement. So you have to consider the most primitive one, which are the what? The Chisophytes. So Medina is finally here. Medina, welcome. Oh, you're 25 minutes late. Welcome. So you have to consider the most primitive one, which are the Chisophytes, the Monerians. We state the features. It is very important you recall the features of the Monerians. features I would not want to ask. I should have asked you individually, but that would take time. So I will just recall what we mentioned in our last class. So features of moneras include them being what? Prokaryotes. I think at this stage I would have to ask you questions. The major features of monerans are that they are prokaryote. In fact, they are the only group of prokaryotic organisms. So if you could recall, Medina, your punishment for coming late is to tell us what prokaryote means. So what could you recall about prokaryotic organism? What makes them to be prokaryotes? I hope she can hear me and she has not left. Is Medina there? I can't get any response from her. Hussein, are you there?
Yes.
Medina has left again. Okay, Hussein, can you help us out with what prokaryote is all about? We said schizophytes are the only group of prokaryotic organism that we have. The schizophytes are found under Monera, so they are the first group of living organism, the first kingdom, according to evolutionary advancements. So what does that word prokaryotic means?
Prokaryote, it means they lack a true nucleus.
Meaning thank you, they lack true nucleus. They do not have a well-defined nucleus. Their DNA is just free, is roaming about in their cytoplasm. And another major features that we also mentioned about them, unicellular, meaning they are made up of just one cells. They are made up of just one cells. Um, a typical prokaryotic, okay, we do not have the image here. A typical prokaryotic organism are the bacteria. I think we look at the structure of the bacteria too in our last class. I mentioned that you should be able to identify some of the major features of a bacteria: the capsule, the flagellum, the DNA, the cytoplasm, and the likes.
Madina is not partner with her network. Can you speak to us to confirm if she's still
Okay,
with us?
Madina is back.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue. Okay, so we also mentioned that the next group after the monerans are more advanced, like they are more complex in terms of structure and function. And those are the protists. The protists. They are more advanced in such a way that their own cells their cells have true nucleus. So they have a well-defined nucleus that has what? A membrane. It has a nuclear membrane. And if their cells have nuclear membrane, what do we call that type of organism, or what do we call their cells? Dean,
Eukaryotic. Eukaryotic.
eukaryote. Eukaryote. Please remember I mentioned that you can use either C or K. So when you see options that has C or K, EUC or EUK, both are correct. So eukaryotic organisms are the protists, and they are also unicellular organisms. They are unicellular. And I could recall we also mentioned that some of them are free living. Example of free living protist. Free living protists.
Plasmodium.
Plasmodium isn't free living. Plasmodium is parasitic in nature. We say some are free living, some are parasitic. Plasmodium is one of the parasitic protists that we have.
Amoeba.
Amoeba.
Trypanosome.
Amoeba is free living. Paramecium is free living. Euglena is free living.
Trypanosome.
Plasmodium is parasitic. Trypanosome is parasitic. Those are the parasitic protists. They are unicellular. They have a true nucleus, and of course they are more advanced than Monera. Another thing is that some of them can manufacture their food. They like the Euglena. Euglena can behave like plants. I think I didn't mention that in our last class. Euglena has the ability to behave like plants and animals. It has features that makes it to be classified as animal-like or plant-like organism. You could see questions in your exam. An organism that is mostly classified or that is said to have features resemble plant or animal is what? So we have Euglena in that group, and we have Chlamydomonas. Even though Chlamydomonas is not seen as a protist, but it also have features that makes it look like plant and animal. What are the animal and the plant features? The presence of chloroplast in it containing chlorophyll. And what is that make? And that what does that do to be able to make? They are able to make their food by photosynthesis. They utilize energy from the sun with the carbon dioxide from their surrounding, and of course water must be available, and then the chlorophyll within their chloroplast. So they are able to make their food. And also they have animal features. What are the animal features that they have? They have eye spots. They have flagellum for movement. They have I've said they have eye spot. They have eye spot for sensitivity, flagellum for movement. They have oral groove like a mouth, like a gullet, through which they take in they can also undergo phagocytosis. They take in solid particles. So those are the animal features that they have. They can feed by autotrophic, like making their food, and they can also feed by heterotrophic, depending on already made food or organic matter to feed. Now we also mentioned fungi. We looked at fungi. Yes, there's something I also did not mention. In protists, protists can undergo sexual reproduction. Some protists can undergo sexual reproduction, while most of them undergo asexual reproduction. I don't want to rush us. You know what sexual and asexual reproduction means, right? Medina, is she back? Sexual reproduction
No.
means the ability to give rise to new individual that requires two individual organisms. Two organisms coming together to give rise to another new organism of the same species. That is very important. While asexual is the production of or giving rise to new individual of the same species by a single parent. We are going to look at reproduction in one of our classes, God's willing. Now, for protists, we say they exhibit asexual reproduction. One paramecium can divide by binary fission into two. Two paramecium can come side by side. Let me make an illustration there. Two paramecium can come side by side. And they exchange genetic material to form a zygote, and new organism is formed. That process is known as conjugation. So because paramecium can undergo sexual reproduction, that group is said to what? Undergo both sexual and asexual reproduction. We didn't mention that in our last class. Please note it down. So that's another major difference between Monera and Protists. While Monerans are known to be asexual, to undergo asexual reproduction, Protists can undergo both sexual and asexual reproduction. And then I think we were able to look at the kingdom fungi as well. Were we?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what did we say about them? We mentioned that they are non-green living organism. They do not have chloroplast, and that was what took them out of the plant kingdom earlier. They were initially classified as plants because they have cell wall. We mentioned in the first class that the major difference between plant and animal is the presence of cell wall. But fungi, they have structures that make them look like plants. They have cell wall, though their cell wall is a cell wall that is made up of what instead of what. We mentioned that in our last class, if I could remember. Hussein, do you remember?
Their cell wall is made up of cellulose.
Are you sure? Are you sure their cell wall is made up of cellulose?
No, man.
Sorry, chitin.
It's made up of chitin as against cellulose in plants. Please, these are the
Yes.
key areas you should watch. You should take note of. Questions always come out in those areas. What differentiate or what remove fungi from the group of plants? Their lack of chlorophyll, their lack of cellulose in their cell wall. So that is why they now became their own kingdom, and they have other features. So, another major features about them is that they are decomposers, they are saprophytes. They cannot make they cannot manufacture, they are not autotrophs because of the lack of chloroplast in their cell. So they also they have to exhibit an heterotrophic mode by what? By saprophytic mode. They have to decompose organic matter before they can derive their own nutrient. They absorb their nutrients. And I mentioned that they have structures that enable that. Structures that enable them to be able to absorb nutrients from their organic matter. And that is the rhizoids. And we also looked at the major part of the group fungi. And we cited the example. I said it is very important you are able to recognize or identify or label, because you could see questions where this diagram would be provided and you would be required to identify the labeled parts. So the part that look like the stem is known to be the sporangiospore. The part that is likened to the pion, the capsule in Moses, is known to be the sporangium. This egg part is known to be the sporangium. And what is the essence of the sporangium? It contains the seed-like structure of the fungi known as spores. Spores. So it contains the sporangiospore. You call it the spores. So you should be able to label the rhizoid, the sporangium, the sporangiospore, then the hyphae. Yes, the hyphae. The hyphae are their reproductive structure too. They continue to extend, like the stolon in strawberry is their hyphae. This structure here, sorry, let me erase. So you should be able to identify the hyphae as well. And then we mentioned several examples of fungi. We say some of them can be unicellular, right? Example. Hello, I hope you are with me.
Yes, ma'am.
We say some of
ma'am.
them could be unicellular, and I asked example of unicellular fungi.
Yes.
Did someone say yeast? That is correct. If I heard yeast, is Mariam with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Unicellular fungi are known to be yeast, while multicellular include the one we have here, rhizopods. We have mushroom, the popular mushroom that we have edible ones among them. We have mushroom. Someone is making noise at the background. We have mold, the common mold that grows on our food. Mold. We have toadstool and others. So we are meant to look at the kingdom plantae today. The kingdom plantae. Please, I want us to have our writing materials. So and I'll be sharing another slide with you now. Do we have our writing materials?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now, before we say anything about plants, if you are asked to talk about the features of plants, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? The general features of plants.
They have chloroplast.
Please, before you talk, you have to introduce yourself. Let me know who is talking. Medina, go on. You were about to say something.
I said plant, they are green plant that manufacture their own food.
They are a group of organisms. Thank you. They are a group of organisms that can manufacture their own food. Why? Something comes. I think we attempted a question in the last class about the following are features of plant except, and we have in the option presence of chloroplast and ability to manufacture their food. Do you remember? So somebody had to pick ability to manufacture their food, and I said it is wrong. where you have option that says presence of chloroplast. A feature comes before a feature. Without chloroplast, plants cannot manufacture their food. So the major feature you should have gone for is what? The presence of chloroplast. They are able to do the work of manufacturing their food because the chloroplast is there in the first place. I hope you get that part. Now let us look at plants. Their major feature: presence of chloroplast, presence of cell wall in their cell, and then we have them undergoing sexual and asexual. Fungi too undergo sexual and asexual reproduction. Say fungi, protists, sexual and asexual reproduction, Monera asexual reproduction. So plant too can undergo sexual. We're going to look at vegetative propagation, God willing. So they undergo asexual reproduction by vegetative. Please note it down. Vegetative. I can't remember, but I've seen this question somewhere. The ways by which plants are able to.
Hello, sir.
So those are the general features: presence of chloroplast, presence of cell wall, sexual, asexual reproduction. They are multicellular, of course. That should also be noted. They are multicellular organisms, and then we have unicellular among them. Chlamydomonas has been classified under plants, even though it has features that resemble that of animal. But formally, let's say formally, it has been classified as plants. So we would say Chlamydomonas. So they are unicellular, multicellular, and we have those that the primitive plants, the plants that are simple, the simple plants, and then we have the complex plants. Now let us look at the major groups under plants. There's something I remember now. When we looked at the levels of
Ma,
classification, yes,
excuse me,
I'm
ma.
listening.
What's the means by which plants do their sexual reproduction?
Asexual reproduction,
No, sexual.
it is by flower formation. It's just normal asexual sexual reproduction by production of flower. Their reproductive organ is the flower itself. So they have to form flower. There are series of stages that would precede that: pollination, fertilization, and then fruit formation. Can we proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Response from you, please. Can we proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now I mentioned that there's something I remember that I did not mention, or probably I mentioned what in the last class. When we look at the levels of classification, the 7 levels, we say the first level is the kingdom, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what did we call the second level?
Phylum.
Phylum. Now, the
Division.
only time you get to say phylum referring to animals, please note. When you are referring to animal, you are classifying animals. That is the only time you get to say phylum. Probably you have an animal, a lion that you want to classify. So after you say the kingdom is animalia, then the phylum is what is the phylum of lion? Vertebrata. They are vertebrate. They have backbone. They are chordata. But if you are to classify plants, or you're talking about plants in terms of classification, you do not say phylum. Rather, you say what? Division. Please note, division. I hope we've noted that. So when we say kingdom, phylum, class, order, it is in respect to animal. If you are considering plant, it will be kingdom, division, class, order, and like that. I hope that is noted. Now let us look at the major division of the kingdom Plantae. The major division of the kingdom Plantae. So depending on how you feel like placing them, we have three major divisions, or we you can say we have four. I would explain how you can say you have three or four. If you are saying you have 3 divisions of plants, then you are considering the first division, which is the talophytes, or which are the talophytes. So on the basis of classification, you say talophyta. But if you are just referring to them generally, you say talophyte with ES, PES. Then after talophyte, we have the bryophytes. We are going to look at their respective features. The bryophytes. And then lastly, we have the tracheophytes. Tracheo. Tracheophytes. This is if you are considering the 3 groups of classification. But then if you think, okay, you do not want to say there are 3. If you are saying there are 4 major divisions, then that means you are breaking this tracheophytes into 1, pteridophyte. Pteridophyte is spelled with a silent P. Pteridophyte. And then the last one, spermatophyte. So depending on how you've chosen to classify plants, we have 3 or 4. I hope that is clear or that is noted by us all. Hello?
Yes.
Do you
Yes,
get why
ma'am.
I said we can have 3 divisions or we have 4 divisions? If you are saying 3 divisions, that means you have classified these 2 divisions here under the tracheophytes. I'll tell us what tracheophyte is all about. So if you are saying there are 3, that means you've chosen talophyte, bryophyte, and these 2 here as 1, tracheophyte. And if you're saying there are 4, that means you have broken the tracheophyte down into the subdivision under it, which are the what? Pteridophytes and spermatophytes. Now, why are these two last division, why are they grouped under tracheophyte? It is because they are a group of plants with a vascular bundle. Hello? Hello? Mariam?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma.
Dean?
Ma'am, please can
Medina?
you repeat that?
Shane? I said what about the tracheophyte? They are a group of plants with vascular bundles. Now, if I say vascular bundles, what does that mean? You've heard of vascular bundles in plants before, right? Can I erase my screen? I have already.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what does vascular bundles mean? We are coming back to identifying the features of each division one after the other, but we need to iron these vascular bundles out. What does vascular bundle means? If we say those 2 divisions, pteridophytes and spermatophytes, are the sorry, look at my bundle. I know one could correct that bundle. Well done. Bundles. Who has never heard of vascular bundles before? Medina, have you heard of vascular bundles before?
I think so.
You think so? Okay. Mama, vascular bundles.
I forgot
Who-
it.
You forgot. Hussein.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Dean.
Ma.
Vascular bundles. What are they about?
Tube-like structures that help plants to transport water, minerals, and other materials.
Thank you. They are tissues within the plants that aid transportation and movement of materials. Materials that include food, water, nutrients, and every other anything or any material that needed to be transported within plants. Those are tissues within the plant that aid the transport or conduction of those materials. Those are vascular bundles, and they include what? The xylem
Phloem.
and the phloem.
And phloem.
Yes. Can you remember that you've heard of them now? So xylem
Yes.
and the
Yes, ma'am.
phloem was pronounced. So the major group of plants, the major division that have those tissues are the pteridophyte and the spermatophyte, and that is why they are classified as a super division of what? tracheophyta. Now let us go one after the other and look at each of those division and their features. Each of those division and their features. The first division here says the talophyte. You need to put some things down. Now, how would you describe talophytes? We've mentioned if you are to identify the features of talophyte, we've mentioned their general features, so you should also include it as part of their feature. They possess chloroplasts, they are autotrophs, blah 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 blah. They can exhibit sexual, asexual reproduction, especially Spirogyra, sexual, asexual reproduction. And then, and one major thing to note about this group here is that even though they are classified as plants, please note, they are known to be that group of plants that lack root, stem, and what do you think?
Leaves.
Leaves. Thank you. And leaf. So that sounds somehow, right? They are plants, but they do not have roots, stem, and in fact, they do not have structures that look like root, stem, and leaf. The only thing that makes them to win that class of plant, to be classified as plants, is because of their presence of chloroplast, presence of their cell wall, being autotrophic, and the likes. Now, we've mentioned that they do not have root, stem, and leaf. And of course, again, they are aquatic plants. They are simple aquatic plants. That is another major feature you should note. Simple aquatic plants. So example of talophytes include Spirogyra, Volvos. Then the Climadomonas that I mentioned earlier too is classified under talophytes. I want to believe we are all jotting some things down. If you would
Yes, ma'am.
need the slide, I can always send the slide to you. The slide would be helpful. It contains the list of questions adapted from JAM that you can also practice with. So can we proceed? We've mentioned some features of talophytes. They are simple aquatic plants. They exhibit sexual and asexual reproduction. They do not have root, stem, and leaf. They are autotrophs and the likes. And we've identified few examples under them. Now let us look at the next division under the kingdom Plantae. So the next division are what? The bryophytes. Please note, if you are to provide this information in order of their evolutionary advancement, this one, JAMB is so particular about them wanting you. In fact, there's a particular question where this group of these divisions were scattered, and candidates were expected to what? To arrange them in the correct order of evolutionary increment or advancement. So you have to look for the most simplest one, which is what? The talophytes. Then after the talophyte, then we have the next one, which are the bryophytes. Now let us look at the bryophytes. The bryophytes are a group of plants that also possess chloroplasts in their cell. So meaning they are autotrophs. They exhibit reproduction in bryophytes. You could see question where bryophytes and pteridophytes, there is a particular term that is used to describe their life cycle. That is called alternation of generation. Please note this. Alternation of generation. I hope you can see what I've written on my slide.
Ma, please come again.
I said there is a major feature that links the bryophytes and pteridophytes, and that is in the mode of their life cycle. So when it comes to their reproductive cycle, they are known to undergo or exhibit alternation of generation. I would explain. Sorry, let me write that alternation as pronounced. Alternate. Sorry.
Alternation of what, ma'am?
Generation. Alternation of generation. Have you all noted that?
Yes, ma.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what is that about? It is about the life cycle of their reproductive stage. They have for their reproductive stage, they have the diploid stage. You know what that diploid means? If you have done genetics or reproduction or meiosis and mitosis, it is explaining a complete set of chromosomes in any body cell. When we have a complete set of chromosomes in a particular body cell, we call it a diploid cell. That the set of chromosome is what is complete, has not been tampered with, has not been divided by meiosis. That is diploid. So for bryophyte and pteridophyte, they have a stage of what? A diploid cell known as the sporophyte. Please note it down. I'm sorry for writing on the screen. I should have created an empty slide for you that we could write on.
Ma, then what again?
Sporophyte, the spore forming stage.
No, ma, you said something. You said you said another thing before you said sporophyte.
Second stage, which is the gametophyte stage, formation of their gametes. So we'll not talk about their gametes too now. I don't want to bombard you. That's
Ma,
not my
what leads to the
intention.
formation of their gametes?
What did you say? The
What leads to the
gametophyte
formation of their
stage. Gametophyte stage. Please, have you noted what I wrote? Medina, please, if you do not understand anything, please take me back, or we have to it is not how far but how well.
I don't understand, ma. Come back again.
Okay, good.
From that sporo.
From sporophyte, right?
Yes, ma.
Okay, I'll take it again from the beginning. We started with talking about the features of bryophytes, right? They are more advanced than the talophytes. They have chloroplast, meaning they can make their food. Is that noted? And I also mentioned that the type of sexual reproduction that they exhibit is known to be alternation of generation. That is one of the major features that classifies them as bryophytes and pteridophytes. Alternation of generation. Then I mentioned that the alternation of generation is the process by which they complete their reproductive cycle in two stages, which are the diploid stage, known as the sporophyte or sporophytic stage. The diploid stage, the diploid stage,
Ma,
called
it's
the
the process whereby they complete
yes.
what? It's the
What
process
did you
whereby they
say?
complete. I'm
Their
asking that.
reproductive stage. Their reproductive stage, their life cycle
I
in
said,
two stages. They alternate their life cycle, they alternate their reproductive stage in two stages, which are the sporophytic stage, the sporophyte. So you can put the sporophyte, you can put in brackets diploid stage and the gametophyte, the gametophytic stage. So if the sporophyte is known to be the diploid stage, the gametophyte is known to be the haploid stage. Haploid. If you have done, I mentioned meiosis and mitosis earlier. Haploid, meaning, I said that the sporophyte stage has the complete number of complete set of chromosome in their cells. The spores that the bryophytes or the pteridophytes make, the spores in their structure that they make has a complete set of chromosome, and that is why it is known to be the diploid stage. Now, when meiosis occur, the diploid cells are halved, they are reduced into half, and that is the haploid stage, which is known as what? The gametophyte stage. Are you with me?
Yes, ma.
Okay. Now we've talked about the spores being diploid in nature, and that is known as the sporophyte stage. We are trying to look at the alternation of generation. Now we said the gametophyte stage is made up of half cell, right? Haploid cells, which is half of what? The diploid cells. Now for the gametes, now we have two gametes. For every other flowering plant too, with two gametes, the pollen grain and the ovule. They also have two gametes known as, sorry, antheridia. Please, I want you to write that. It is not on the slide. From antheridia. Antheridia is plural, antheridium is singular. Antheridia and archegonia or archegonium, singular. Arche is spelled CH. Sorry, let me spell that again. Archegonia or gonium. Now, the antheridia is the male gametophyte, is the male gamete, while archegonia is the what? The female gamete. I hope you note that. So you could see questions. Omabere, they used to ask about the in JAM questions specifically. The bryophytes are known to undergo what their sexual reproduction or their reproductive stage is known as. So alternation of generation. So you could also see further questions that would need you to identify the sporophyte as the diploid stage and then the gametophyte as the haploid stage. And then you could also see questions that would need you to identify the antheridia as the male reproductive part of what? A pteridophyte. We'll cite example like a fen. Or you identify the archegonia as the female part or the female gamete. I hope that is noted now.
Yes, ma.
Medina, you have been silent. Are you with us? Mariam,
Yes, ma.
good. Okay, good. So let us proceed. We still have to, we have to. It is our tradition. We have to solve some questions. So if we are only going to talk about plants today, then we attempt questions. So be it. Now the next group after, sorry, there's something I also did. No, we said this first group here do not have they do not have leaf, stem, and root at all, even though they are plants. These ones too, they do not have root, stem, and leaves, but they have structures resembling, or if it that resembles English people, structures resembling roots, stem, and leaf. So those structures are structures that look like stem, root, and leaf, but they are not actually true stem, leaf, and roots. So you could say they have false root, false stem, or false leaf. We are going to see an example. So an example include mosses and liverwort. Let's see the next slide. We should have example here. These are examples of talophytes. These are Spirogyra here. This is Oscillatoria. The examples of and these are the seaweed. This is Elodie. This is Elodie plants, the chara. Now look at this plant. That one friend or coworker whose computer skills make us. Look at this plant here. This is an example of a moss plant that belongs to the division of bryophytes. Now, if you look at this part here, what will you call this part? I need response from you all. What would you call this part? This part. What does this part look like?
Leaves.
The stem.
It looks like leaf, but they're actually not true leaves. So they have structures that look like leaf. If you look at this part as well, this part here, the down part here, that looks like their roots, that is their rhizoids. It looks like root, but they're actually not roots. And look at the stem. That look like stem, the seta, it is called seta. They are actually not what stem, but they have structures that look like them. So this part here, from the leaf part here, is called the gametophyte. While the capsule and the seta here are known to be the sporophyte. The sporophyte. Please, that information might be necessary. Just note it. From here to here is the sporophyte. From here to here is the gametophyte. Let us look at it more closely. Now look at this part. This thing, this green thing that you see, you must have seen this everywhere in damp area. Surface of wall that is damp. All these things that you see that looks like carpet grass, those are mosses. They are mosses, and they when you pick a strand of it and you observe under a magnified high resolution microscope, this is what you would see. You think you are looking at a big plant. So this is a moss plant. Now, worthy of note with this plant is the structure. You should be able to identify the capsule that contains the spore. You should be able to identify the seta that looks like the stem. You should be able to identify the leaf. Even though we know that it is not a true leaf, and then you should also be able to identify the rhizoids. I hope that is noted by us all. Hello? Hello?
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
we proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Can we proceed? So worthy of note is also the examples of bryophytes. Please, you will see questions. The following organism are bryophyte
Ma, the
except, or
structure
which
that
of
looks like leaf is called what?
is still labeled as leaf? Is labeled as leaf.
And the structure that looks like stem is called.
The seta, SETA as pronounced. While the structure that looks like roots is called the rhizoids. Rhizoids are the type of roots found in lower plants or lower organisms, like even fungi to have rhizoids. So can we proceed?
Yes.
Liverworts are also bryophytes. So please do not register your mind, limit your mind to mosses. Mosses and liverworts are known to be what? Bryophytes. Now let us look at the next division, which are the pteridophytes. Now I remember something again. Pardon me for remembering something that I meant to have remembered earlier. Part of the features of talophytes and bryophytes is also that they are we mentioned vascular bundles earlier. They are non-vascular plants. So you could be asked to identify vascular or non-vascular plant. Just note that bryophytes and talophytes are non-vascular plants, meaning they do not have vascular bundles. And that is why they were left out of the tracheophytes super division. I hope that is noted. Now, when you come down to pteridophytes, then you'll be talking about vascular bundles. So they are vascular plants. So you can say they are vascular plants, and of course, they have the root, stem, and leaf structure. Very true. Original one, not imitation like that of bryophytes. Shall we proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
So we said they are vascular plants. The pteridophytes are vascular plants. They have roots, stem, and leaves. And of course, the only limitation about these pteridophytes is that they are non-flowering plant. They do not make flower. They do not produce flower. They are non-flowering plants. There is this popular saying that if you big, you big. You know where you big reach, ba? The talophytes are primitive. They do not argue about it. The bryophytes are forming low. Okay, we are advanced. Even that because they have structure that looks like stem, leaf, and roots. But then they were casted away because of their lack of vascular bundles. And then the pteridophytes came. Okay, we have vascular bundles. So we are bigger than the bryophyte. But then they also have their limitation, which is what? They are non-flowering plants. Yes, they have vascular bundles, they have true root, stem, and leaf, but they are non-flowering plant. That is their limitation. So you could see question whereby you have to differentiate, or you have to pick answers that requires you to differentiate the pteridophyte from the spermatophyte. So their limitation is that what they do not produce flowers. They are non-flowering plants. And the main example under this division are the ferns. The ferns are known as Dryopteris. So if you do not see fern in text, in questions, and you see Dryopteris, those are ferns. I will show you the structure now in the next slide. These are ferns. Have you seen this type of plant before? Hello? Hello, are we there?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you seen this type of plant before?
No.
No. Yeah, where did you stay? Oga Mariam and Medina. They are mostly, who is that with the speaker? Please move away from your TV or any sort of sound. They are mostly found in water side area. Not really the river, but it's like a swamp area, a moist environment. The bryophytes too are also found in moist environment, somewhere damp and moist. So pteridophytes are also found in not so dry land, like a swamp. So these are Dryopteris. So they have true leaf, true stem, and leaf. They undergo sexual, asexual reproduction. They undergo the alternation of generation that we mentioned earlier. So they also have the antheridia and the archegonia. So please note, they have vascular bundles as well. Of course, it is so obvious that they are autotrophs. They can make their food because they have chloroplasts in their cells. Now let us look at the last group before we attempt some questions. That person with the speaker, we will fight you. Let us look at the last group. The
Ma, you
last
said
group are the
pteridophytes. They have antheridia and archegonia.
yes, they also have the male and the female gametes. Their male gametes in antheridia, the female gametes in archegonia. Please, I think that mess is coming from your side. So let's look at the last group before we attempt few questions. The spermatophyte. So what do you think about the spermatophyte? From all what we've been saying so far, what do you think about the spermatophyte? Hussein, what can you say about them? Mariam, Mama, what can you say about the spermatophyte? From what we've been saying so far about the other plants as they advance. Is no one going to respond to my question? Medina, is she with me? I don't like this silence, so it is deafening.
They are the most. advanced
The most
group of plants.
advanced group of plant, yes. In terms of, they have vascular bundles, they have root, stem, and leaf. They are flowering plant, and that is why I was expecting you people to come in, because I said the limitation of pteridophytes is that they are non-flowering plants. So you should know that the major strength, or the major win, let me use the word win, of the spermatophytes is that what? They are flowering, and that is where they hand that name, spermatophytes. Sperm. They are seed producing plants. So they are seed produce. That's the meaning of their spermatophyte. They are seed producing plants. So unlike the other divisions, they are spore. They are spore. So that's the difference between spore. Spore is more primitive than seeds. So seed is more advanced. It's like an advancement over the spores. So these ones are seed producing plant. The bryophyte and talophyte are spore producing plants. So spore are seed like, they are type of seed found in lower plants. So, and then again, we've said they have vascular bundles. They are autotrophs. They exhibit sexual and asexual means of reproduction. I mentioned their asexual reproduction the other time by vegetative propagation. Now, the scientists are the taxonomies have also classified them, that even though they are flowering plants, they can also be further what? Divided into two subdivisions. So they are divided into two. This is the super division, the spermatophyte. So they are divided into two subdivisions, which are the gymnosperm and the angiosperm. The gymnosperm and the angiosperm. So how would you differentiate? Muslima, reduce that volume. How would you differentiate between the gymnosperm and the angiosperm? The thing about the gymnosperm is that even though they are producing seed, their seed is always born naked. Sorry, give me few minutes. Muslima, reduce that volume or you turn it off. Sorry for that interruption. Now I said the major difference between the gymnosperm and the angiosperm is that even though they are flowering plants and they produce seed, their seed is always what? Is always what? Is always naked. Now, what should you take away from here? Where are you likely to see questions about the gymnosperm? You could see questions whereby you would be asked a group of flowering plants that produce seeds born on a naked cone, a naked seed born on a cone, naked seed born on cones. Cones are normal cones. So their seeds are always open. They are not enclosed within a seed coat. So they are they have they exhibit, or they make, or they produce. Let me use the word produce. They produce naked seeds. So they are what? They are gymnosperm. And they are mostly, how would you identify them? They are mostly ornamental plants. Please note. Note that. They are mostly ornamental plants. Like our popular pine tree, the Christmas tree, the pine, the conifers, the cycads, the ginkgos. Please note that too. Ginkgos. The ginkgos. I want to believe we are jottings. We have our pen and jotters, right?
Yes, ma.
Yes, ma.
Good. So we've said they are ornamental, they produce naked seed even though they are flowering plants. An example include the pines. Pine is not written here. Pine, the normal pine as you write,
Hello, ma.
Pine. The pines, the conifers. Conifers is here. The cycads, Cycadopsida.
Assalamu alaikum, ma. Sorry, ma. Mr. Ayinde.
Nam.
I observed that Mama is not talking. Is she not together with us? She's not participating.
Mariam,
Is she there?
I called her earlier and
I
she
am.
responded.
Okay,
You
okay,
are you
okay.
with us 100%? Okay, good.
Yes, ma.
And I hope you have your pen and jotters with you.
Yes, ma.
Good. So then let's look at the other subdivision, the angiosperm. They are more advanced than the gymnosperm. Use two seed, in which the seed are what? Enclosed in a seed coat. And because scientists are scientists, taxonomists, they still find a way to what? To group them into classes. They further classify the angiosperm into two classes. These are the classes we are most familiar with: the monocotyledonous and the dicotyledonous. We are familiar with those two classes. Those are the two classes of angiosperm: the monocot and dicot. Now, in order not to waste our time, so I'm going to give you that as a task before the next class. Every one of you, Hussein, Medina, Dean, Mariam, you're going to go and read on the features of monocots that differentiates them from dicots. And we're going to build on that to move on to the next kingdom, which is the animal kingdom. With examples, please. Now let us try and attempt some questions on what we've done so far. We have less than, let me see. We have like 10 minutes left. So we are going to use that to attempt questions on what we have done so far. So when you come with your read up, your reading, we are going to look at these structures together. I think we've attempted this first group of questions in the last class, right?
Yes, ma.
Okay. So we need to you can call us the answer. Let's be fast about it. Which of the following is a feature common to plants? You can call us it, please.
Presence of cytoplasm.
Option
Is it chloroplast?
chloroplast. Yes, chloroplast. That is not, both A and B are correct. So I have to mention that A must be present before B can what? Can take place. So that is what makes A to be more appropriate. I mentioned that JAMB would give you two. In fact, they will give you more than two options that are correct. So you are left to pick the most appropriate one. Now, the next question too, we've answered that.
Yeah.
Kingdom fungi. Please, let's chorus it and be fast.
Fungi obtain nutrients by absorbing organic matter.
By absorbing organic matter, they are saprophytic. The most inclusive level.
Kingdom.
Kingdom that contains everybody. The seven hierarchy of classification was introduced by
Carlos.
Carolus. Flat. Okay, we've not talked about animals. Okay, we've not talked about animals. Which of the following groups of cell is devoid of true nuclei?
Fungi.
Monera.
Okay, I had two options. Somebody said fungi, and then somebody said monera. Final answer, please. You might have to
Monera.
defend your response. I'm listening. Who said fungi? At this stage, I think I should start calling names. Hussein, are you there? Which of these group of organisms has a cell that is devoid of true nucleus? Hussein? I can't even tell if it is Dean's mic or Hussein's mic that is making the most noise. Hussein, are you with us? Are you still with us? I hope you're still with us.
I think he has issues with his
Yes,
network.
Okay, Marian, Mama,
Ma?
what do you think? From what we've said so far, which of these organisms does not have a true nucleus?
Monera.
That we said the monerans, they are the first group, the most primitive group without a
Yes.
true nucleus. They have their DNA floating freely in their cytoplasm. Okay, Medina is answering this. We are answering this. Which of the following organism cannot exist freely on its own? Which one cannot exist freely? You know, while we talk about some proteins being free living, some being parasitic. So which one do you think cannot exist on their own? Every
Plas-
organism here is what did you say?
Plasmodium.
Is that what she said? I did not hear her. I asked her, Medina, I didn't hear if she, but the right answer is actually plasmodium. Medina, I didn't hear you, so you are going to still answer the next question. Plasmodium. Why? The plasmodium requires a host organism for it to work, for it to survive. So it requires a host organism, which is what? The female Anopheles mosquito. So it cannot exist freely, unlike amoeba that is free living. It is independent. It is single free. We mentioned the forms in which cell exists. We said some are single free independent living organisms, such as paramecium, amoeba, and the likes. Okay, we've not done animals. We've not done animals. We've not done animals. Seems we have more questions under animals, animals, animals. Animals. Okay, I'm going to give you questions in the absence of questions. I want you to who should answer this question? Dean, we're taking one questions. Oh, you are going to I would write some organism on the screen. So you arrange them for me in their order of evolutionary advancement. Are you with me?
Yes, ma.
Okay. So we have Spirogyra, we have Euglena, we have conifers, we have liverworts. Sorry, liverworts. So please, I need you to arrange them for me in order of their increasing evolutionary advancement.
Yes, ma. Let me do it.
Okay, I'm listening. Do you need a pen to do that? You do not just look at them and okay, which one comes first, which one comes next. Medina, be getting ready for your question. One question each before the end of the class. Then we are waiting. I want to believe others are also attempting. In case he is wrong, but I believe he's going to be right. So which one comes first? Which one comes next? While we are waiting for Dean, can Medina take over? If you have your answer with you already. Medina, Hussein.
I'm going to say liverworts first. Are you hearing me, man?
Liverwort first.
Uh,
Hussein, did you say liverwort first? Like this one.
yes, ma.
Okay, which one comes next?
Conifer. Conifer.
After liverwort is what?
Conifers.
I didn't catch that. Conifers, okay.
Spirogyra.
Spirogyra
And Iguana.
and Iglina. Is this in
Yes.
order of increment or in order of decrease? Is it according to their complexity or simplicity? Is it increasing complexity or decreasing complexity? Let me know which order you have given me.
Increasing complexity.
Increasing complexity. Well, that this is. I'm sorry, this is not correct. If you are referring even for decreasing complexity, it would have been correct. But there's a mix. There's a swap somewhere. So this is not correct for increasing complexity. So who is going next?
Mommy.
Okay, is that Medina now?
Dean.
Dean, okay.
Spirogyra goes first.
Spirogyra 1,
Liverworts 2.
liverwort 2,
Conifers 3.
conifers 3,
And Euglena 4.
euglena 4. Is this increasing order of complexity, right?
Yes, ma.
From the lowest to the highest. Well, I'm sorry, this is wrong.
No, this is increasing.
Increasing, we are saying the same thing. Increasing complexity. You said Spirogyra 1, conifers 2. That's what you say. Liverwort 3, euglena 4. That is wrong.
No, ma, liverworts is 2.
Liverwort 2 is still wrong.
Let me go again.
Okay, okay. I'm listening.